Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going way up north today to explore the Manitouwadge mining venture that's in Ontario, Canada.
Sounds chilly.
It gets pretty cold up there. And we're working with some interesting sources for this one.
Ooh.
Excerpts from what seems to be another podcast script.
Okay, so we're going deep on a deep dive then.
Exactly. But honestly, the story's fascinating. We're not just talking about rocks and minerals here. This is about the people who went into the Canadian wilderness back in the 1950s, hoping to strike it rich. You know, those classic tales of ambition and perseverance.
Right, the kind of stories you just can't make up. And the setting really adds to it too, right? Dense forests, freezing temperatures, and not much in the way of infrastructure.
Definitely makes you appreciate what those folks went through.
It really does. And what's amazing is that all this started with something pretty small, like a minor detail almost.
You mean like a tiny gold nugget that sparked a huge rush?
Not quite. I'm talking about a geological report from 1932 by this guy, Dr. Thompson. It's crazy how that seemingly insignificant report set off this whole chain of events leading to this massive discovery.
That's incredible. So who actually found the treasure? Give us some names.
All right, let's see. We have a group of prospectors: William Dowdowich, Jack Forster, Roy Barker, Fred Bergquist, and Sam Prechelak.
Those names deserve to be remembered.
Totally. And get this, initially they thought they'd found nickel.
Nickel? Huh. That's not bad.
No, not bad at all. But it turned out to be something way more valuable. A huge deposit of copper and zinc.
Whoa, that's a lucky break.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were just really good at their jobs. What do you think?
It's interesting to think about, right? Was it pure luck? Or did their geological knowledge play a role? Maybe a bit of both. Whatever it was, this discovery attracted a lot of attention. And that's how the H&H Syndicate came into the picture.
The H&H Syndicate? That sounds kind of mysterious. Who were they?
Well, think of them as a team of investors with a plan. They were organized with a clear goal in mind to develop this mining prospect. Some key figures were W.S. Hargraft, Phil Hamilton, and Chip McCloskey. And there were two more Hamiltons, Bob and his brother, I think. Harry Knight was in the mix too.
So many names. So they were the brains behind the whole operation.
Pretty much. They laid the foundation for the mining companies that would take over the actual digging and stuff.
I see. And those companies were?
One was Geico Mines.
Geico Mines, got it. And the other one?
Well, that's where it gets a little tricky. The sources aren't too clear on the second company's name.
So we get a little mystery on our hands.
Exactly. And this whole venture attracted more than just investors. There were geologists like Cameron Robertson.
Gotta have those experts.
Absolutely. And Grant Knowles, who ran the store, keeping everyone supplied. And then there was Fergus Christie, who managed the camp. Can't forget about the guys actually doing the hard work. And more prospectors like Danny Henry joined the scene too.
Wow, so this remote place in the wilderness started buzzing with activity. But how did they even manage to do anything out there? I mean, wasn't it super difficult with all the challenges of the environment?
Oh, it definitely was. Think dense forests, freezing temperatures, and basically no infrastructure to speak of.
So how did they get anything done? Did they, invent a wilderness Uber or something?
Haha, not quite. But they were incredibly resourceful. Float planes and boof planes were their lifelines. They brought in everything they needed. And get this, they built a 44-kilometer all-weather road.
A road? Seriously, through all that wilderness back then?
Can you imagine that? It wasn't just some little dirt path either. It was a major engineering project. They were determined to connect this remote place to the outside world.
That must have been quite a sight.
Absolutely. But it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, with all those claims and everything, things got a little complicated.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, there were some disputes, legal battles even. People jostling for position. Fortunes were at stake, after all.
It's like that saying, right? There's gold in them there hills. And trouble, too.
Exactly. But eventually they divided the territory, drew lines in the wilderness.
So it wasn't just about rocks and minerals, huh? There was a whole lot of human drama unfolding up there in Manitouwadge.
Absolutely. From a handful of prospectors to a wave of investors, companies, and then disputes, Manitouwadge was becoming quite a story.
And we're just getting started. This remote outpost was about to transform into a full-fledged town.
A real boom town.
Exciting. So it wasn't just about the copper and zinc anymore.
Nope. Things were about to get even more interesting. Buckle up.
I'm ready for the ride. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Manitouwadge mining venture. Last time, We left off with this tiny outpost on the verge of becoming a real town.
Yeah, the copper and zinc discoveries basically set the stage for a classic boomtown story.
And that road they built, that 44-kilometer road, that must have been a real game changer, right? Hard to imagine what it was like before that.
Oh, it was a completely different world before that road. I mean, think about it. Manitouwadge was basically just a bunch of tents and temporary shelters, supplies, and people coming in every now and then, usually by air.
So life was tough.
Oh, incredibly tough. Harsh, unpredictable, isolating. But then that road changed everything.
So what happened? Did the town just explode overnight once that road was finished?
Not exactly explode, but the transformation was incredible. Supplies started flowing in more regularly, travel became easier, and you could feel this sense of permanence starting to take hold. The tents started to disappear, replaced by real buildings. Businesses popped up, and people just kept pouring in, looking for a chance to make it big.
Wow, what a story. But this wasn't just happening in isolation, right? It was the post-World War II era. The whole world was rebuilding and recovering.
Absolutely. And the demand for resources, particularly metals like copper and zinc, was through the roof. They needed those materials for everything, rebuilding war-torn countries, fueling industrial growth. Everyone wanted to move forward after those years of conflict.
So Manitouwadge played a role in all of that.
A vital role. The copper and zinc they mined there, it was shipped all over the world. I mean, think about it. This little town in Canada helping the world get back on its feet. It's pretty amazing.
It really shows you how connected the world is even back then. And that connection wasn't just about the metals themselves, right? There's all that infrastructure they built up there.
Oh, yeah, that infrastructure played a huge role. The roads, the railways, the airstrips, they didn't just disappear after the initial boom. They opened up the entire region, making trade and travel easier.
So it was more than just extracting resources. It was about creating a lasting impact.
Exactly. They transformed the landscape, not just physically, but economically, too. It spurred growth, connected communities, and really shaped the future of the whole area. It's like that road they built. It was a catalyst for everything that followed.
And let's not forget about the people who made it all happen, right? The prospectors who took the initial risk, the investors who put their money on the line, the workers who toiled in those tough conditions, and all the families who built their lives up there.
It's a testament to human ambition and resilience, wouldn't you say? All those challenges, all the uncertainty, but they kept going, driven by dreams of a better life, fueled by the excitement of discovery.
And what about those original prospectors? DeWittowich, Forster, and Barker, they became pretty famous, didn't they? What happened to them after their initial success?
Well, their stories took different paths. Some guys, like Dowdwich, I think, they just couldn't resist the thrill of exploration.
Hmm.
They kept on prospecting, always on the hunt for the next big find.
So they were hooked on the adventure.
Exactly, but others, like Forster, I believe, they took a different route. Invested their winnings in businesses, real estate, helped build up Manitouwadge and the surrounding area.
So their success wasn't just about striking it rich. They became part of the community's growth.
Right. And it shows that there are so many ways to contribute to a venture like this. It's not just about finding the ore. It's about the vision, the dedication, that entrepreneurial spirit that turns a discovery into a thriving town.
It reminds me that behind every boom town, there are countless individual stories. Stories of ambition, risk, and resilience.
And that brings us to a crucial question, doesn't it? What was life really like for the people who actually lived and worked in Manitouwadge during this boom? What challenges did they face? What were their triumphs?
So we're moving beyond the logistics, the economics, and getting to the human side of things.
Yeah. Exactly. We're going to explore the social fabric of this community, delve into the lives of the people who called Manitouwadge home, explore that sense of community that emerged, and uncover the lasting impact this whole experience had on them and the entire region.
Sounds fascinating. I can't wait to hear more. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've explored the discovery, the challenges, the boomtown growth, and how has a little town in Canada impacted the whole world.
And we've talked about the prospectors and investors, but now it's time to focus on the heart of the story, the people who actually lived and worked in Manitouwadge during all of this.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a mining boom, all that potential for wealth and the changes it brings to a place. But what was it really like to be part of this community, to experience it firsthand?
Well, imagine this. People from all over, with all sorts of backgrounds, all converging on this one spot in the wilderness, all drawn by the same thing, the chance for a better life. You had seasoned miners side by side with folks who'd never seen a mine before, families leaving everything behind for a fresh start. It was like a melting pot in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds pretty lively, but it couldn't have been all sunshine and roses, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Life in Manitouwadge, especially in those early days, was tough. Housing was scarce. Lots of people lived in tents or cramped quarters. Winters were long and harsh, and the work was demanding and dangerous.
So it wasn't all boomtown glamour. There were real
No,
struggles.
definitely. Sacrifices, too. But you know what? Even with all that hardship, a really strong sense of community took root. People depended on each other, shared what they had, celebrated their successes together. There was this amazing spirit of camaraderie and resilience in Manitouwadge.
It's funny how tough times can bring people closer together, huh?
Yeah, it's like going through something difficult creates a bond that wouldn't be there otherwise. And that sense of community, it left a mark on Manitouwadge. Even after the initial boom died down, the values they forged during those tough times remained.
So what's Manitouwadge like now? Is it still a mining town?
Mining is still part of the economy, sure, but Manitouwadge has changed. It's a town of about 2,000 people now. Tourism and forestry are pretty important too these days.
So the legacy of the mining venture goes beyond the copper and zinc they pulled out of the ground.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. All that infrastructure they built, the skills people learned, the sense of community, it all played a part in shaping Manitouwadge's future.
Those stories, those memories, they connect people to this place. That's a kind of legacy too, right?
Exactly. The story of Manitouwadge isn't just about resources. It's about the people, their determination, their ability to overcome challenges, and the power of community. It's a story about the human spirit.
And before we finish up, I wanted to mention our sources one last time, that podcast script we've been working with. It reminded me that history isn't just about dates and facts. It's about people's stories, their choices, and how those choices shape the world.
And it's up to us to keep digging into those stories, to find the details that make history come alive.
We've talked about the prospectors, the investors, the workers, and the whole community. But there's one group we haven't really addressed, the First Nations people who've called this region home for centuries. How did the Manitouwadge mining venture affect them?
You're right. We should acknowledge that. And it raises some tough questions. Whenever you have a project like this, especially resource extraction, it impacts the indigenous communities, the people coming in, the changes to the environment, the economic shifts. It definitely had an effect on the First Nations people in that area.
It reminds us that even when we talk about success and progress, there are always other perspectives to consider, stories that need to be told.
And as we continue to learn about resource development, it's important to remember those perspectives, to listen to the experiences of indigenous communities and understand their point of view.
Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Manitouwadge mining venture. It's been quite a journey. We've covered a lot of ground, from the initial discovery to the boomtown years and the lasting legacy of this incredible venture.
It's a story about the thrill of discovery, the hardships of frontier life, and how powerful human ambition can be.
It's a story that's still relevant today. It makes us think about the complexities of resource extraction, the importance of community, and the lasting impact our choices have.
We hope this deep dive has made you curious, inspired you to keep exploring and learning.
So until next time, keep asking questions, keep digging for those fascinating stories, and keep diving deep.